Hi, my name is Joe, and I'm 6.5 years into shooting a 30-year-long time-lapse of the skyline of New York City. The data requirements for that project are extraordinary, but right now I want to talk to you about 5 simple tips for backing up your media. Tip number 1, keep your shot media and your unshot cards in separate locations. For me, I have one little caddy that holds 12 cards, and I keep that on my computer desk, and it looks remarkably different from the other one that I keep in my camera bag. For me, keeping them in a literal, physical, different location is a huge help, because after a long day of shooting, I'll be at my desk and I'll be like, okay, this card is done, and I almost ceremoniously stand up, walk across the room, and put the card into a different spot. I think one thing about backing up media in general is that you're probably tired because you've probably been shooting all day. So you need to make a bunch of rules that are gonna make you feel comfortable to where you don't lay down in bed and think, oh, did I format the wrong card? Tip number 2, when you're actually downloading your media from your card to the hard drives, what I like to do is I do 2 separate hard drives and it gets backed up in each location. And as I'm going through this, I'll right click to get the file info for each folder when I'm finished. And then I'll compare them to each other and make sure that they're all exactly the same. All 3, because you've got your card that you shot, you've got your primary hard drive and your backup hard drive. My favorite tip at the end of that is to right click, get info for the primary hard drive, the disk that you're coming from, and the backup hard drive, and read it out loud. So I like to literally say, this is 2.97 gigabytes, 333 items. This is on DiGiovanna 9 primary. Okay, 2.9 gigabytes. I'm gonna get the items wrong, but I check it on all 3, and I say it out loud because every time I eject that card, that's that moment of panic. Of like, did I do it? Did I do it correctly? And if I've read it out loud, I feel comfortable because I can remember I just read it out loud. And this is a great way because you don't usually have someone to double check. So this is a great way to double check. Tip number 3, this is about your folder structure. And this is really important to me. For every project that I've ever shot, I label it by year, dash, month, dash, day, and then the name of the project. So if you open up any of my hard drives, it's automatically in order. And this really helps you because when you have a lot of these smaller projects, there's gonna be a time where you really wanna go back and grab that one image. And you have to find it quickly because otherwise you just won't do it and it'll just fall off your desk. And that's really sad. So I always keep everything in order like that. I also order all of my file names like that as well. When I'm editing in Premiere or Final Cut, I keep all the file names that way, and if there's a new version, it has the new date. I also recommend, along this same vein, is think about as many words as you can when you're making the title for that folder, because a couple years from now, you're gonna have to find it again and be really good at labeling what you're looking for. Tip number 4, keep a copy of your media somewhere else. So this could be as simple as you're a person like me where you're shooting a ton of video, a ton of stills, and a 30-year-long time lapse of New York City. And you have so many physical drives that what you do is you put them into a box and ask your friend really nicely if they can keep it in their basement. So what we're doing here is just protecting ourselves in case the building just suddenly disappears into a black hole. Your footage is still cool. Along the same lines, a lot of photographers, particularly still photographers, it makes perfect sense to have your primary hard drive be a physical drive in the room with you, and your backup hard drive is on the cloud. And then you're perfectly safe. This is something that I definitely use for Premiere, and it's saved me, I can't even count how many times when I've had a drive fail, and I thought, oh boy, how much editing, how many weeks of labor did I just lose? And then it's like nothing. because I'm working with Adobe and it's saving all the time, and I can just go to the latest version and switch to my backup drive and everything is great. I think I just exaggerated because it's only happened once, but it was scary. Tip number 5, don't format your media cards until the next shoot. It just provides a tiny little bit of a safety net. Say you start to get into the edit and you say, oh, wait a minute, I'm having a problem with this file. You can go right back to the original and see how it looks. Was there really a problem with that still or that video? Or, if you go back to the original media card, is it actually okay? This has saved me in the past on larger shoots where you've got like 5 camera team and you're shooting for, it's like 150 people on the call sheet, and it's like, oh wait, go back to the cards and see how that's going. I've got 2 bonus tips. If you're shooting with this sort of media, I love to have a little paper tape, and you can put that right over the part where you would normally download the footage. So you're stopping yourself from accidentally formatting the card because you've got a physical barrier. And my other thing is, if you accidentally format a card, don't panic. It's not over. There's still a chance. The most important thing is that you don't shoot more media onto that card. But the data is often still there. And you can use a program like SanDisk Recovery Pro. I think I've used Disk Doctor. I'm just getting confused about which apps I've used, but there's ways to save it. It's gonna be a little crazy because sometimes the file names are all out of order and blah, blah, blah. But so many times I'm on Instagram and somebody's like, I accidentally formatted the card, like I lost the job. I'm like, no, you can, the information's still there. It's okay, don't give up. Well, thanks everyone for watching. I hope these tips were helpful. If you have any questions or comments about how you do it differently, throw them in the comments and I'll be there and we can chat there. You can follow the 30-year-long time lapse of New York City at NYC_TimeScape on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, just everywhere. Wherever you want to be, I'll be there. And please go to nyctimescape.com where you can browse 14 million images, which are updated in real time from 3 separate cameras looking at New York City. Coming out soon, Emmerich, who actually did 5 tips on how to shoot hyperlapse with B&H, is a good friend, and he's making a follow-up 3 years later to his original documentary about my 30-year-long time lapse of New York City. I can't wait for you to see it. It's really good. It describes in crazy detail all of the technical challenges that I had with all of this data, 14 million images. I know I just said that like 17 times, but you'll have to forgive me. Anyway, the video's coming out. It also talks about the Sunset Club, which was this unbelievable, spontaneous thing where dozens, hundreds of people from around the world just started hanging out on watching live stream of the New York City sunset during the pandemic. It created friendships, it created love interest. People are sharing recipes from India with New Jersey. People are currently helping Ukrainian refugees get to safety because of this club that just sort of happened. And we're gonna talk about all of that in the video, and I can't wait for you to see it. It's coming out soon.